Hello and welcome to Unidine's Fresh Thinking Lounge, where we take a fresh approach, fresh perspective, and fresh point of view on food and dining management services. I'm your host, Victoria Vega, and joining me today in the Fresh Thinking Lounge is Unidine Lifestyles East Division President, Jack Silk.
Thank you, Victoria. Great to be here today.
We've known each other for a long time, and really before we both came to Unidine.
Yeah.
So let's start by discussing your career trajectory. How did you really get into hospitality, Jack?
Well, it's interesting. I never planned on being in it. I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't go to hospitality school. I actually went to a business school. Got out of college like many people and didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. And my first job was with Guinness Import Company. So I was in the beer business, which I had a lot of experience in college with, managed distributors in the Boston area. Then they promoted me and I moved out to California. And at the time I was madly in love with my now wife. So I moved out there and it just wasn't working, her being in Boston, me being in California. So I was going to take any job as long as it got me back east. And the first job was Silo Corporation, which Sodexo ended up purchasing about 6 months later. So that's how I got into food service business. I started off in sales and absolutely fell in love with it. And the reason why I think I did so well is I realized very quickly that, I wouldn't do well selling a tangible product, but selling a service and selling people, I didn't have to do a lot of the work. It was all what the team did that ended up having the salesperson get all the credit for getting new business. So.
That's really incredible. You spent so much of your career in the corporate dining environment. What prompted you to segue into senior living and elder services?
It's funny when I talk to, I mentor a few people within Compass Group, and I always say if there's an opportunity to take on more responsibility, whether it be in what you know or what you don't know, you should go after it. So from corporate dining, I had a little bit of experience then with schools and colleges, moved into healthcare for a little bit, not senior living. And then before joining Unidine, I was with Flick, and they had asked me to take on the division for senior living, which was Flick Lifestyles at the time. And I just said, well, I've never done it before, but I do have a soft spot. My mom was in a nursing home at the time, and when I was a little kid growing up in the city, going to visit my grandmother, I have very fond memories. And the nursing home that my grandmother was in is completely different from what it is now, which is a good thing. So.
Well, that's incredible, and it's, I know that you've been touched by your family during this whole COVID-19 experience, and our food service workers truly are those heroes behind the mask.
Yes.
Can you tell me how this whole COVID-19 experience has been different for you versus regular disaster recovery protocols that you had in the past?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it is personal. Unfortunately, I lost my mom during COVID. And the most difficult time for the individuals in the skilled facilities predominantly is you couldn't have any visitors. I look at my dad, who was going every single day feeding my mom breakfast and lunch, and now that's taking away from her at the time. But the one constant was, of course, the CNAs and the administrators, but the food service workers. And to me, they truly are the heroes during all of this pandemic, because they're keeping them fed, number one, but they're keeping that one relationship, although it's not a family member, they become like family. So, asking our team members to go into a facility, especially in the beginning when no one knew what was going on, how many people had COVID, how do you get COVID, do you get it on contact services, is it by speaking, what have you. So to me, they truly are the heroes.
Well, one of the things that really touched me that you had shared with me before that you really missed as our dining rooms have started to close, not just the opportunity to touch tables, but to really interact with our residents and to hear their stories and about their lives. What have been some of the biggest challenges for our clients during this pandemic that Unidine's been able to solve for?
I mean, there's many, but you know what you just touched upon is a huge challenge because there's no interaction now. Not only for our workers to work with the residents, but the residents, again, not being able to talk to family members. I think with regard to challenge for food is that each state has different regulations. So, you know, we went from all the dining halls are closed, and then you have to, on a drop of a dime, do home delivery. So that was a challenge in itself. And for the most part, people were very appreciative of us reacting very quickly to provide that service. But, you know, after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, gets a little mundane. So, you know, the challenge is keeping that fresh and innovating. Then combine the fact that, okay, you open up a restaurant, but you only have 25%, and maybe some states were 50%. So now you can't feed all the residents, or you can't have them come into the dining room because you just don't have the space for it. So trying to accommodate all the different residents, even though you only have 25 or 50%, it's almost impossible to do. So you have to come up with creative ways to do a delivery at the house.
Well, I know that some of your communities really offer beyond best-in-class amenity programs. Like we've got some really high-level communities that you're servicing. What inspires your team to deliver on that innovation?
I think, you know, we have one community that their tagline is simply the best. And I think a lot of our associates want to be the best, right? And when you're part of an organization that is doing well and growing, you know, we have a great sales team, as you know, within Unidine. So when we have these high profile, I call them country clubs for senior living, you know, the continuing care communities, and they just really, our associates enjoy pleasing the residents. It's almost like if you're working at the Ritz-Carlton or a really fancy hotel chain, you know, you go above and beyond. And then how our team members get rewarded is, you know, the sales team is great, but you have to have great relationships, you have to have great service and great references. So, you know, our team members really get excited about that because then it creates growth for them as we take on another great community.
Sounds like they're really empowered to deliver on excellence.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, the way we have Unidine structured, each region pretty much is run as their own company. So the district manager for the southeast has complete control to make decisions right there to take care of our customers and residents.
Well, that sense of immediacy has to be important to not only the residents but to our clients as well, that we're acting on the better good for their needs also. As we look forward, what do you think the future of food and dining hospitality holds for us in senior living?
Yeah, I see it changing. I mean, I think back, I mentioned earlier that I was in schools and colleges, and the traditional board plan, like when we went to school, you know, it was breakfast, lunch, dinner, and brunch on the weekend. The board plan, I think, it will be a thing of the past, similar to how it is in schools and colleges now, more of a declining balance. I think you're going to see a lot more retail focused, a lot of open kitchens, open restaurants. I do see that coming down the road because the newer residents that are coming into the communities, that's what they're going to be looking for and expecting.
So it's really about creating an experience that goes beyond food.
Correct, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, you've heard it here. Thank you for stepping into our Fresh Thinking Lounge, where you've heard a little bit about the senior living environment and the changes that are evolving to best suit our clients' needs. Thanks, Jack. We appreciate you taking time to join us.
Great. Thanks for having me.